Alrighty, good evening, everybody, and welcome to yet another edition of the BBC, the Bordweall Broadcasting Company. Our first show of 2019. We took a little bit of a break over the holidays. That I think was.
It's 2020.
Well, it is 2020.
Yeah,
Did I say 2019?
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm behind on the times
You're
already.
a decade and a year behind.
That's right. And today, what we're going to do, as it said in the announcement, is we are going to review 2019 in memes. We've got here as our guest tonight, Renegade and Muslim. Introduce yourselves.
I don't need no introduction. Maybe Renegade to us. She's not as popular as I am, but
Totally. Yeah. I'm going into hibernation. Dragons
we've been doing this
sleep
for
in the
2
middle
years.
of winter.
Yeah.
Yep. And we'll kind of we'll go over some of the stuff. We've, I guess, each got a little section. Noz is going to go first with some of his memes that he picked out. I'll go next, and mine are kind of more a collection of memes from the actual official COE meme channel. So they're a little bit tamer because of moderation there, etc. But it'll review 2019 through memes with some of the events that went on. And Renegade will wrap up with some of hers. So Noz, without further ado, go ahead, lead off, buddy.
I have to start with what I think is the best one, and it's not going to show up properly, of course.
No. Just zoom in on his face. It's fine.
Yeah, there we go. So that one to me summed up this year pretty good. As we look back, I got a good little chuckle out of that one. And this is from the Witcher series, and we can all relate to how we all felt standing behind SBS in 2016, and now where we're at with development. It's like, ugh, this meme really spoke to me, and so I think. I'm not even going to say who made this meme. I don't know. They're memes, right? I don't. They're freaking art from the internet. I don't know who has copyright ownership of a meme. If that's even an issue, let us know. We'll work that out. We'll ask nicely next time. I don't know, but I think maybe this was Holdrick, and if it's not, I don't know. Correct us later. But this was one of the ones that spoke to me. What were some of the other ones we had? For me, I didn't have a lot because I wanted you guys to talk about, what y'all thought. I didn't want to get into the picking of memes because I kind of like them all, but
show a couple of the ones that you pulled up just before the show.
And it seems like all the ones that were very recent are the ones that that spoke to me the most. This one in particular,
age well.
I even shared with my wife, and of course I'm gonna have to readjust the size. So for me, I mean, that one made me laugh. Don't laugh. You still believe Chronicles of Illyria is coming out. And this is a kid putting us, a kid that's obviously too big to be believing in Santa Claus, putting a letter to Santa in the mailbox. And this came out right around Christmas, and I belly laughed when I read it for the first time. It was good stuff.
Again, whoever came up with that one, because I was just shown the meme. I wasn't shown who was on it. Brilliant stuff. I thought it was funny. It was a very funny chuckle kind of thing. And remember that memes are meant to be humorous, and humor always is poking fun at somebody's expense. So, that's how it goes. You have any others? I think you had Serpentius reviewing name submissions.
Well, we had this one here, which was Holdrick after he stopped posting in the COE memes, and how the entire community, this I think was from Narco, maybe. I don't know. I'm not as cool and as hip as I used to be on keeping up with all this shit, but yeah, it's just this was the entire community. We're all standing around bored out of our mind, right? Because we don't have nothing to do after Holdrick started posting his memes.
And I think we need to give a special mention to Holdrick. I think unofficially he he needs to be crowned kind of like the king of memes for COE. I think he comes out with an amazing number of them in terms of just the sheer amount of them. But he's a normally very cutting and kind of like very often kind of like on point kind of thing. Recently, he's been posting a lot of his in threads, and I wasn't going to go through every thread posted in the last couple of months to try and see which had memes and which didn't. But yeah, special shout out to Huldrick for his efforts and his campaign with memes. I think it's been kind of like fun to watch and see kind of thing.
I mean, just with the sheer volume of shit that he puts out, eventually he's going to hit a home run every now and then. You know what I mean? And he definitely did with some of these with me.
He probably made half of all the memes that were in the meme channel. Just him.
We can relate to the COE website with the struggles of everyone wanting to look at maps this year at the same time. And not only that, but you have, domain and settlement selection going this past year, and people were trying to get on that, and you had people trying to do normal stuff on the website as well. And, the shinies would go out and it crashed the website again because of the unusual number of people actively browsing the website. And then they announced, everyone go look at the website for this special announcement. And then it was just, it seemed like every week this was a reoccurring theme here, demonstrated in this meme.
Yeah, it's like they're not website developers, but they keep giving us, they're like, go to the website. And we're like, yes! And then we realize they're not web developers. So
Yep.
We crashed DSS so hard that their Dutch auction's done. It hasn't even started.
So players wouldn't let us create all these super cities if they knew they weren't actually unsustainable. All the people would flee or die and the cities would collapse. Yeah, the SBS little smirk there.
SBS has warned about that. Yes, they said, hey, if you make unsustainable cities and they collapse, that's on you. We have warned you. I think now that there are so many, they're probably going to have to relax some of that. Well, we'll see.
Isn't that why they made the greenhouses? So that
yes, I think so.
Sustainability.
Yep. And they said they could be used up in the Tiger as well. So yeah.
So they're gonna try technologically, but yeah.
And then of course the Serpentius reviewing name submissions. A lot of people gave Serp a lot of shit that he wasn't reviewing them fast enough, but I could honestly see him jamming on a keyboard like this, trying to get them all in. So that was quite humorous to me. There was the last one I had was this one here, that I thought was perfect. And so this wasn't necessarily me after picking my domain, because I was still kind of stressed out. Now I can sit back and relax because I was one of the 20 or so people that got in the first 20 minutes of reverse auction. So I've secured that duchy. That was one of the ones in the middle of our kingdom, one of the two. So we have that secured now. And now I can finally sit back and resonate with this meme here. So
yeah, I think that really was a very stressful time for everybody. And the fact that we finally got most of DS, now you have everybody like the proprietors, like, where do I get to place and stuff like that. So, oh God, if DSS did this to the website, what's going to happen with the purchasing of ancestral lands?
I think that a lot of people actually got in. I think a lot of dukes got their duchies in, and I'm clicking on stuff I shouldn't be clicking on here.
What? It's Von Rugen's here.
Yeah, let's go back to that. No, but I think a lot of dukes got in. I was noticing that Fortuna got a ton of duchies in that what seemed like 20 minutes that they had reverse auction up, and maybe I just missed something at the end there of domain and settlement selection, but I didn't think they were almost full. But they're almost full with Dukes now.
It's good to see. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
good to see.
So I think a lot of them got in. So I'm trying to figure out who else got in, because there was only a short window that the reverse auction was up. So rumors was it was like 20 or something people. I know I was one of them, but it looks like a lot more than just 20 or so people got in from what I'm seeing on the maps.
Alrighty, let's move on then to kind of like the actual year in review. If you can put up that first one. The first one isn't so much a meme as it was a statement from Caspian on December the 31st, 2018. And there was all this hype coming, right, about how we'd waited through 2016 and nothing had happened in 2017, and the alphas that we were meant to get in 2017, and then later on in 2018, those didn't come. And so everybody was kind of like still on the hype wagon, and Caspian was kind of like feeding and fueling that as well, right? He was like, and his words here are, as a final note, 2019 is going to be the biggest year yet for COE, with plenty of opportunities to get hands-on or test gameplay mechanics, plenty of new gameplay and first look videos, and plenty of upcoming events like domain and settlement selection. And stay tuned early next year for our release 050 update blog. There was, I've forgotten which MMO website it was, but they had kind of like said that, you know, they'd given kind of like a negative response, kind of like a thumbs down on Chronicles of Valyria and where it was in development. And Noz, you can put the next meme up. And Caspian had responded to that by stating that, you know, 2019 is going to be the year of the storm. 2019 is going to be the year that the studio knocks it out of the ballpark and kind of like puts their money where their mouth is and everything. And everybody was hyped. Everybody, you know, it's like we want to hear this, right? But not only do we want to hear it, we want to see it as well. It is one thing to hear it, but it's something different to actually put our hands on it, so to speak, kind of thing. So this one, I think, was put together by Dreamer from OCE, and it shows, you know, Illyria is this big, ominous tornado-generating storm, and 2019 being the small house in the path of the storm, and how 2019 is going to get wiped out. This was the hype. This is how things were set up at the beginning of the year, and you know, remember that Caspian had stated that we weren't going to have domain and settlement selection in December, so we were all expecting, you know, as soon as 2019 starts, literally within the first couple of weeks, for domain and settlement selection to start. This is what we were all hyped for, you know, and
they got it in.
Yeah, they did get it in, and then, you know, towards the end of January or February, if you put up the next meme there, please, Noz, that would be great. It was, you know, obviously domain and settlement selection was one of the big focuses for 2019, but already towards the end of January and February, you know, the community was already souring and waiting kind of thing, you know, and already taking pot shots at, you know, where the hell is this? Where is this storm? Where's this storm that we've been waiting for? If we move on to the next one, Noz, we'll kind of like not have to, you know, we don't need to spend lots of time on some of these. You could tell, and if you actually go back, what I did is I went through the COE meme channel, and I literally read through every single meme. There are so many that deserve to be on here, and some that might even kind of like be better in some ways. But these ones that I've picked kind of like to give a broad example of kind of like, you know, how the community was starting to, for want of a better word, starting to sour, starting to get impatient. And if you go back like I did and start looking through those memes, you can see it. You can see it kind of like tangibly get kind of like almost like more aggressive as the year progresses, and that dissatisfaction and disgruntlement. This is one, the parallel lines, I think that was still very early on, still February or March. And if we go to the next one, it's this one I could relate to. I picked this one out because I think I'm not alone in kind of like in how we got hooked, for want of a better word, on this whole vision and premise of COE, and it's a brilliant vision, right? It's a brilliant concept for a game. The MMO market is stale out there. What Caspian has as a vision is kind of like, it's fresh, it's different, it's exciting, and it's very, very ambitious. Some will obviously argue the point that it's probably overly ambitious for a studio of this size. This we've yet to see. But how many of us that have backed can relate to this? Oh, hey, I'm only going to buy this. Back in 2016, I was just going to buy a county. In November 2016, I ended up buying a duchy, and I think it was in March of 2017, I actually ended up I purchased a second duchy, and then I ended up purchasing the kingdom. So yeah, it's scalable, but I think it's very relatable to many of us.
It's like an addiction. Thanks.
Exactly. If we move on to the next one, Noz, this one I think really kind of like encapsulates some of the frustration that we were having with the studio, with things being delayed, and when they were released, kind of like breaking down and not working. And Cineric had made a brilliant post. I think it's probably the highest liked post, certainly to my knowledge and recollection. I think it had like something like it was just under, but I think it was close to 400 likes on it. And basically Cineric's post was, hey, before you release domain and settlement selection, it's already kind of like delayed. Why don't you let us test it? Bring it out to us. Let us try and break it. Let's make sure that this is an important milestone for the development of COE, both for the studio and for the community. Let's make sure it happens right. And it's this is Nightfinger, I think, that makes these cards. He does a wonderful job with the graphics on them. He has a whole series and a whole collection of them with kind of like the different members of the studio and the community, and I think they're really, really well done. We can move on to the next one. People were already kind of like starting to do this, whoa, hey, we're kind of like, it looks like we're taking a step back. This is what we saw when we first looked at Chronicles of Illyria, right, in 2016.
Yeah.
And then we're like 3 years later, we're going, and it's great to see development. Again, don't get me wrong, it's great to see progress, but it's kind of like there was this regression, right, from what we saw here in 2016 that got us excited and everything like that. And this is part of seeing, the making of the sausage. It's part of it's part of kind of like seeing, how the game is made, which actually we're thankful for. But I think it was an amusing meme nonetheless. All right, so then we had the whole. If we move on to the next one, I don't want to get too involved with kind of like some of the things that were going on between the Monarchs and the studio. I did a.
I did a dive too deep into this fire, huh?
Yeah, literally. But we were asked. They had said that the domain and settlement selection was going to start. I think it was going to be in April, and then it was May 1st. Then it was delayed again, and Caspian came to us and asked us and said, "Hey, will you Monarchs pick manually?" And then everything, the website will be up. We just have a couple of renders left to do, and this is back in April of last year. And we'll give you all of. And we said, yes, give us the correct information, and we will, we'll be able to pick manually. So they gave us the information, but it wasn't complete. And then when the information that they did give showed for Selene, I think it was Dragor. It was the Kingdom of Nirath on Dragor. They showed him as being a predominantly Kippic kingdom versus just a predominantly Kippic biome. And as such, he was going to have to play a Kippic as a monarch. And he just said, fuck this. And he basically melted his kingdom. He kind of, like he said, I'm not a monarch anymore. And he was done. He was done with it. So, to me, we can all laugh about some of the stuff and some of all the kind of like, the Dance of Dynasties and the drama that goes on between the various groups on the various servers, etc. But this, a monarch actually giving up his $10,000 package, and most of them have paid for EP and additional stuff and everything like that. This was a very significant step. This was, to me, the very first significant, tangible step of the results of the Dance of Dynasties. And I think, ironically, when the real information did come out back in August, when domain and settlement selection actually started, Kipiks were the predominant tribe in that kingdom, and I think he kind of like got a little bit of a good fucking kind of thing, But yeah, let's move on. Sorry, did you have a comment to add to that, Ren?
It was like the maps in general, when we got like just the visual maps and the level of like analysis and like playing with them, and then like all of that. I thought that was a really cool time with the community, because there was so much discussion and on the voting, even before DSS. Like it might have been a dumpster fire, and I mean, there were definitely times where it was like, oh my god, people were going to come to blows over it. But it was a really cool time, I think, in the year. Just we had the maps.
That just goes to show, if you don't like what's happening in development right now, just wait until a month from now, and it won't even matter anyway, right? So that was an expensive lesson that Dragor taught all of us there. Huh?
Yeah, exactly. We can move on to the next one now. And let's see. This was now the rest of the community is kind of like is starting to kind of like, see what's going on, and kind of like, there's been now these delays with domain and settlement selection. We're now around about the June time frame, and this whole storm that has been predicted was basically encapsulated by one person who made this particular meme and said, that the storm is only happening in a teacup. It's a storm in a teacup, as in it's not really effective or significant or really bothers many of us, etc. So that kind of like summed that up. And Caspian, meanwhile, is kind of like, I think this was in May. It was meant to be delayed until, I think it was May the 7th, and then it was May the 13th, and then when May the 13th didn't happen, Caspian made his famous comment of, "Oh, I can't give dates. I've been told not to give dates," because the community just jumped on him, and I think rightfully so. Remember that they did not take up the offer of the community testing this, and they've had so many instances now where when they release something on a large scale, it crashes, it fails. And they need to utilize and use us to stress test these things. We're happy to do it. I think it's a relatively mature community, and a very passionate, and for the most part very supportive. But they're getting, it's souring when obvious things are being ignored,
That's not the sour smell. That's the bread rising that you smell.
That's the bread rising. Because
we're making a sausage. It doesn't smell good when it's raw, okay?
Caspian had made the comment, "I can't give you dates, but if you open the window and put your nose up in the air, you can smell the bread, baking in the oven." And I don't know how you guys take these analogies, but I take an analogy of bread baking in the oven as, hey, it's been proofed. Normally bread has to sit and the dough has to proof several times, and that there can be a whole 8-9 hour process before the bread actually goes into the oven, depending on the types of bread. And so when you can smell it actually baking, I mean, it's almost ready, right? And again, it wasn't out for months. And I think this meme was just absolutely brilliant, of this guy trying to bake something on a solar oven in the middle of winter kind of thing,
Maybe let's not use baking analogies if we don't know baking.
Yeah.
They're talking
Absolutely.
about yeast, because that's got a spell.
Yep. And so after that, the community just kind of like, let rip kind of thing. And there were so many memes. I think a lot of them have been deleted, to be honest with you, by the studio.
Do they actually get deleted? I didn't know that.
When I was looking through it's not the first time I've kind of like gone through that meme channel from top to bottom. But it seemed to go a lot quicker. There seemed to be less for every month kind of like to look at. So, I can't guarantee that because I never counted them before and I never counted them this time. I got the impression that there were kind of like less memes this time than before. And but they were very salty. The community got very, very salty, and I love Gordon Ramsay's rants anyway. I think his meme that turned into that, I'm an idiot sandwich meme is one of the classic memes of all time. But sorry, go ahead, Ren.
That's the best meme.
Yeah, I love that.
So I mean, a lot of these memes are created, in salt, and so don't think that us reviewing these memes are just us being salty. I can already hear it now. The BBC is back, and they're back to bashing the studio, and they're showing all these fucking awful memes, and they're telling about how bad everything is. Knock it off. We're having fun with memes. I mean, if that's your narrative, good luck with you. You're an idiot, but have fun with that. We're having fun with these memes, so don't even go there. This is our review of a year of memes that COE has produced. So, in our interpretation of why we think they may have been made, okay. So there's that.
It's political caricatures and whatnot that we got going on
exactly.
Here.
There's no ill will intended here at all. So then what happened is, as we started getting again close to the domain and settlement selection, a big controversial discussion came up about ancestral lands. These are the lands that have been bought for EP that people have paid money for, and how they're meant to be tax-free, etc. And this whole thing was like, well, if I settle, and I can place my ancestral lands wherever I want, I don't have to talk to the count or the mayor or the duke or the monarch or whatever. I'll place where I want them to, and I'm not paying taxes, and that's that. And there was, oh my God, the controversy on the forums was it was quite amazing to see. And, I think, this sums up, I think, how many kind of like counts and above kind of like ended up handling these people arguing about how they're not going to pay taxes on ancestral lands. And it's like, and then I told him I wouldn't tax his ancestral lands. And I think that kind of like encapsulates it for many of them,
Well, ancestral lands were an old controversy. But of course we had to talk about it again. So that's an old one all the way back from like the Kickstarter. That was a controversy, but people forgot about it until SBS brought it up.
Yep.
Again.
Absolutely. Let's move on to the next one here, Nuz. And this one, and I picked this one because I think it's good. A meme channel is kind of like is out there to bash on people, right? And so it very, very much does that all the time. And I found this one kind of like it was halfway through the year. And I think it's important to remind ourselves that, despite, some of the things, that Illyria is a very, very complex project.
But this one isn't like for just this year. This has been around for 4 or 5 years now, hasn't it?
It's for all of them, but it was, I picked it, it was showing in last year's thing. I think it was around
it's a
about
reoccurring one. That's
June or it might have been one that was recycled. Absolutely.
This should be on the cover of a COE box if we ever get a box. You know what I mean? With a disc in it, that would be great.
I feel like there probably is something like this in the SBS studio, just more complicated.
If they haven't put this shit on canvas in Bellevue, Washington, in the front door of their lobby, they're missing out. I mean, I think this is a COE SBS staple at this point.
And It is. I mean, when I look at all the game mechanics that they want to introduce that haven't been in other games before, or modifying them, etc. Specifically for COE, it's let's remember that this is why we became what in part what attracted us to COE in the first place. And to me, this is kind of like a positive, kind of like meme. It's to remind us that, hey, this isn't just a regular run-of-the-mill ABC development kind of thing, Again, it's not to make excuses for over-promising and under-delivering and mismanaging expectations, but if and when it does come out, I think it'll be brilliant. Let's move on to the next one here, Noz. And while we're waiting for that to come up, there is a stream there to our Patron account. We've lost a couple of sponsors, which again isn't necessarily surprising. There's more and more people are kind of like taking hibernations from the game, and hey, I'll come back and watch it, and check back in a year or so. However, our costs are kind of like running stuff and doing things, doesn't go down. If you can, please do click on that link, and even if it's $1 or $5, $10 a month or whatever, even if it's for a 3-month period of time, it doesn't have to be an ongoing thing. Please help support us. It would be very, very much appreciated. All right, back to the meme. This again, I mean, making plans during read-only domain and settlement selection. Most of us again had kind of like we've been making plans since 2016. And it was who you're going to have, which counts you're going to have, and which mayors, and figuring out which count you might want to be neighbors with, etc. So there was all this kind of Dance of Dynasties stuff going on, etc. Right? And then the maps came out, and everybody saw the maps. It was like, oh shit, yeah, I want to be there. I want to be in the mountains. I want to be on the coast. I want to do this. I want to do that. And I can't speak for the other kingdoms. I'm certainly under this impression that they did this, but our kingdom of Bordweall, we had a little planning session, certainly within the Duchy of Blood Oak, as to which count was going where, etc. And some of the counties got sniped. I think we had 2 or 3. And bear in mind, we have 5 duchies in Blood Oak alone, so it's not surprising that we got a couple of randoms pick. But this was the feeling I would get, from a count or a countess who said, holy shit, D, somebody just took the county I was going to be getting. Do you know who it is? And I'm like, no, they haven't spoken to me. So I found this, little pie in the face kind of thing quite amusing. Noz or Ren, you have anything else to add?
No, I think that our read-only plans for DSS was leaked to the community, and some of our neighbors were having fun with that at our expense, which is fine. That's part of the game, right? We had fun with it, but we still accomplished our goals, right? And we still got what we set out to do. The Blood Oak Duchy, which is your royal duchy, is 5 duchies, with me and another unnamed duke leading a couple of the other ones. But I mean, everybody laughed at us. You guys can't expand that big. You can't take on that much, and we did, and we set out exactly what we planned to do, which even though we had forces fighting against us, we prevailed, I think. And I think we're in a real good situation. Should this game come to launch, we'll be where we need to be. And
absolutely.
So, all the jokes aside, we made our plans and they worked out pretty good, and we should be very, very happy and very thankful for that.
I was impressed with how well it worked out, because planning, in my experience, never goes well. So.
For us, it went very well.
I was expecting what this meme was, and it was much better than that, I think.
A lot of my own counts didn't even know what the hell I was doing. And so even when I placed my county, they were like, whoa, you were supposed to be way over here. And I'm like, I know, but can't let your left hand know what your right hand's doing. So.
Yeah, I think that that, overall, given the size and the scale that we had of populating 5 duchies, Blood Oak in particular did really, really well. Weristark accomplished their goals. Sidrelia did. Singraven did. Truria did. Shady's duchy did. He's kind of like spread into 2 duchies. I got it mixed up. Truria is the one down in the very bottom in the dress, and in fact they don't have another county other than the one by the Duke. So it was Drayron is the one that I was thinking of under Duke Azaro.
So what you're saying is we've spread ourselves so thin we're right for takeover right out the get-go.
Absolutely.
Right?
Down in that south, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Right
Again,
hand, left hand. Got it.
Yep. All right. Moving on to the next meme, and this one kind of like piggybacks on with randos, random people placing, etc. And there is a kind of whereas it was anticipated, and as I say, we did get 1 or 2 randoms place. There is that thing that kind of like all they had to do was reach out, and they wouldn't be random. In fact, we had a number of counts and countesses reach out to us after domain and settlement selection started for real at the end of August and said, oh, hey, I just realized, I need to find a home, blah, 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 blah. And they placed very, very comfortably within our community without creating kind of like, upsets and taking somebody else's spot. And to those new counts and countesses that joined us, obviously, thank you very, very much for doing that. And then I'll round off my last meme was I think there were more memes also kind of like going on about the delay now with Settlers of Illyria. And that's kind of like in part where that Father Christmas meme that we opened up the show with came from. But if you can put up that final one that I had of the pie chart, Noz, it was about the loot boxes. And the discussion is still going on.
He's cracking up here, D.
Couldn't leave it alone. You just had to go to the loot boxes, didn't you?
I had to go to the loot boxes. The loot box event, it's over. It's done with. It was an advent calendar. It's done. But that discussion is still going on as to whether they were loot boxes or not. Everybody has their own opinion of them. In my opinion, they are loot boxes. The actual value of them to me is immaterial. It's the fact that you are taking a somewhat of a gamble on digital content that you've paid for, and you're not quite knowing what you're receiving. For me, an advent calendar is something you give your kids and give to them as a gift, right? And they have fun opening it up, and there's either chocolate or a picture or whatever the case might be in there, etc. This is kind of like asking people to buy hey, give us $100 for your Christmas present, and we're going to pick the Christmas present out for you, but we're not telling you what it is, and hope you like it, So it kind of I feel that you can call it what you want to call it, but in my opinion,
mystery surprise box.
Mystery surprise box or whatever, or hey, this and that. I put in the forums kind of like an alternative that they could have given the loot boxes out for free to every single member of the community, not with these same prizes, don't get me wrong, but with like little small ingredients in them or something, just like they've done for the Kickstarterversary, just like they did for the Syrian Plague, or there was the Lost Vault event, etc. So they have the technology already there, right? They have that infrastructure and software already built, and for want of a better word, programmed, and give them away for free. Go back to the Glowtatoes or advent calendar time things, and have people trade them amongst each other.
Yeah, we're perfectly fine with you giving a shit. We don't know what it is, but when you charge us money and we're buying something we don't know what we're buying, that's controversial.
I mean, look at how successful Glowtatoes were. There were like 15, 20 memes on Glow-Tatoes alone. What do they do? Nobody knows, but everybody wants.
Nobody knows, but they've kind of like they became their own little kind of like cult.
Religion.
They had a cult following. But then what you would do is the community members could have traded these things amongst each other, just as they did in the Lost Vault, just as they did in the Syrian Plague and Kickstarterversary, etc. And then they could have combined, and it could have created something. And then Soulbound Studios could have had, their money event where, hey, after you've created, product X by combining these two things, we've got this here that you can use as an upgrade. And so they would have been generating money and income from it. The community would have stayed engaged rather than hibernating and kind of like,
yeah, it was not the most successful store sale. Like usually you see really cool ones, and this one I felt like there was nothing to engage with. Like trading, there's a prevalent trading economy for COE, and so even now when there's no game, but like this didn't really give anybody stuff to work with. People weren't excited about it, and it definitely just hurt some feelings, I think, all around.
D, I'm gonna throw you a curveball. You ready?
Fire away.
Well, this was just submitted to me by one of our users. So this is Caspian giving a stand up, saying a couple more days, and the community saying, "Boo, get better material." And he looks at his material, and all it says is, "A couple more days, couple more days, couple more days, couple more days."
Yeah, that's how it felt. That's how it felt, particularly in that May thing. I mean, I don't know how many times we were told a couple of days. You could almost, instead of a raven or a crow, whatever that is, there you could have used a parrot, right? Because that's what it felt like. It was like it became a standing joke, and that when people were laughing about that, that's when he switched. Okay, I'm not going to say a couple more days, and that's when he switched that. But you can smell the bread baking, It's like, fuck me, you're not learning.
It's soon TM.
Yes.
That's their old one, is soon TM. And I wish they would have just stuck with that, because everybody knew that meant nothing.
All right, Renegade, we've got a particular chest board wall here. A border wall of chests.
I love this meme.
What is this? But I don't know who made this, but this is
no
genius.
idea. So, are you going to put it up, or am I just going to describe it?
So that was the year in review, and we're going to go to some of the other kind of like random ones that some people are messaging to us, etc.
Yeah, this was if all of the kingdoms were chess, and it's Fortuna with just blah, Karos with no king, Bonaire with Adam, and all of his. I don't know if those are like supposed to be dukes, or what are those supposed to be?
Those are pawns. Him and all his pawns.
They're pawns. Okay, yeah. Alessia with like the queen over to the side, and the dukes and the king. Bordweall with the rooks across it. I thought this was really clever.
No, so the Alicia is the king surrounded by all of his knights, and then the queen over there off to herself with one little pawn over there. So I don't know who the pawn was for the queen.
No idea.
It's meant to be, yeah.
Yeah,
but it was a really cute one.
I think it was very clever. It was amusing and a very clever.
I don't think it was hurtful either, which some of them were.
Yeah, it was definitely
made
fitting.
Fun of equally.
Very clever. So you had the Serpentius one as well.
Oh, that's just because everybody always pings Serpentius, like, Serp, what's going on? Serp, what's going on? And it was like How to Train Your Dragon, but they did it this way instead. And just everybody yelled at Serp, so that was kind of what it was for me, was that one was. Oh, I don't know. I also, dragons are cool, so.
And I'm just going down the list, so you've got a few more.
I don't even know what I put in there. I know there's one like there's the one for the Valentine's Day one.
The guy explaining development to new players.
Yeah, which is just the other meme. Just this is how you sound. It's not only complicated, but you sound like a crazy person when you explain this game to people. I've given up trying to explain this game to people, though. I just say, you'll come play. It'll be fine. You'll like.
Yeah, this is like a smaller version of the one that I found a little bit earlier on.
This expresses the craziness of the fanatics of the community, I think, a little bit better.
I don't even...
It's like, we all understand it, why don't you, kind of thing, you know? Come on, this is easy to get. Yeah.
But I mean, I literally have a conspiracy board. Like, I literally have a COE conspiracy board, so this is not unreasonable.
What is this?
Okay.
Don Meyer?
This was a Don Meyer meme, but this was, you remember that light thing that was like the popularity contest, vote for the whoever you want to get this like sunstone?
Oh, the sunstone one, yes.
Yeah, so it was the sunstone competition, which I thought was really cool. And I think Haldrick did win this. I don't know why it says like yeet, but yeet makes me giggle. So I thought this was a good meme. Exit light, enter night, yeet.
I don't even want to post your next one.
Wasn't that a song, Exit Light, Enter Night, We're Off to Never Neverland?
It might have been, but this meme literally made me giggle like out loud, which not all of them do. Usually you get like a snort or something out of me, but this one.
Borne said him throwing it out makes it nighttime, and it's the song. So yeah, the whole
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get it over with.
What did I put? I don't even remember what I posted. So this is a mystery to me. Oh yeah, this one. No, I love this one.
Ugh.
Oh, come on now.
How many of these did you get sent? Because I know you got sent bikinis.
Ugh.
Yeah, I can assure you my body is nothing like that. Thank you.
Moving on.
Yeah. Next.
That was the Valentine's Day event. I don't know what SBS was about, but they definitely believe in kinks for the community. Yeah, this is another one poking fun at Don Meyer, because it's like it was half of the memes were Haldrick, the other half were memes making fun of Haldrick, and that was like a good 4 or 5 months of memes in COE Discord.
Yeah, I do. I thank him for kind of like for providing that entertainment. I think he, as I said at the opening of the show, he's the uncrowned, but for me recognized king of memes on in the COE community for his consistency on them.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
There's the subreddit.
This one I didn't get. I told you it was like, I don't know. But it definitely, because I know there's definitely some parts of our community that get really toxic, and I think that was what this was kind of, maybe. I don't know.
I think this may have been symbolic of all the new rules that they've recently put up on the COE subreddit. So before you go in there, you have to put on a freaking a chem suit, a chem bio suit. I don't know, but I'm not going there. I agree. That's toxic. I'm not rolling around in that shit. But Alec threw one in here. Alec, you want to tell us about yours?
Y'all go ahead.
Yeah, secret extra voice guest.
Say it again, SBS. Whisper in my ears. What? Why did you put this up?
Hey, that was what we wanted to hear.
Yeah.
It made us feel good that they were listening to us, like not telling us things that we didn't know.
Ugh.
Yeah.
This one's too big, but this was one you put in, Ren.
Oh, okay. So this is that like how everybody was like the backtracking one, but I accidentally put it in the meme channels, and someone immediately responded with a shitty doodle. It was like 30 seconds because I misput where I meant to put it in the other Discord. I put it in the COE memes Discord. Somebody put a shitty doodle in it. I was like, yes.
All right.
Shitty.
Too. I hadn't seen that one before. That's too funny.
It's because it just went up. Somebody just made it.
We got it up just in time.
So I grabbed it. That was
Well
my
done.
personal form of memery is shitty doodles, which I haven't done any, but I have a lot of shitty doodles.
Yeah, it looked like it could have been yours, kind of thing, you know.
I do mine in crayon. That was
That's
far
true.
too artistic for me.
Yeah, Borne sent me about 20 memes. I'm sorry, Borne. There's no.
Is there any of them that you consider worthy to put up, or kind of like acceptable to put up? I know Borne's memes. Let's pick one out. Pick one out.
Borne's memes ever been like safe for work? Really?
That's
good one. I like that one. Not seen that one before.
I think that one might not get my community. What is it? The role for
shadow band.
No, for your content creator role in SBS.
That's
Discord.
right.
I think I might be safe with that one. I don't know. Every episode we do, I'm wondering if I'm going to lose it that night or not. I don't know, but we'll see. But that was cute. It looked cute, you know.
Yeah. It's a meme. They're supposed to be kind of like amusing and exaggerate kind of thing, but there's also some truth to them as well. Before we sign off, because we're approaching up to the top of the hour here. Any others there that you consider safe enough to put on the show here, Noz?
I'm not touching it. Nope.
Safe enough.
Pick one more.
Go
on.
God. Oh, I worry.
Scared.
We're just emailing you memes or like messaging you. Gotta email. It's all the memes.
I can't. Okay, I'm not even reading this one, but I'm getting so many messages to put it up. Here's where I lose it all. Right?
I'll read it. This is by popular demand. This isn't one that we chose. This is one that the community in here has chosen. Put it up, and I'll read it if we have to. You know, I'm almost dreading.
I don't know what this one is. Oh God.
It's actually similar to the diagram that we made years ago and submitted to Soulbound about how it works. Yeah.
It is. We put together an entire PowerPoint. What was it, 2 years ago? That said, "Hey, SBS, this is what your communication looks like to your fan base." And it looked like a pile of spaghetti, right? And we said, here are some things that you can do, filter some of this feedback through the community, through your community managers and whatnot. And it was, I think the only thing
your ambassadors and everything,
yeah, the only thing that came out of that was they used, what was it, the Soul Chamber in the Discord for like a month or two after we presented that to them, and that was all that ever came of it. It was unfortunate.
Yeah. Alrighty,
anyway, that was fun.
Okay, so, that was enjoyable.
Yeah,
I made it.
That wraps us up. Next show we're going to have Zur is going to be joining us, and he has I think 7 contests planned for this year, with a total of $500 in prizes, and he's going to be introducing some of those contests and competitions right here on our show here on the BBC. So we'll be doing that in 2 weeks' time, which if we're on the 7th today, so it'll be the 14 days. Help me out here with the math.
I'm not doing it.
It's the 14th, if today is the 7th, or 2 weeks?
Today's the 7th, add 4 to 14.
So 21st.
20.
We can count by 7.
Yeah.
The 14th
will be the 21st. Excellent. So he'll be a guest on our show on the 21st, and we might have a couple of other people as guests as well.
Renegade's going to be hosting and producing.
Obviously, I totally know what I'm doing. I don't just show up 20 minutes before and say, I don't know what we're talking about.
Thank you all for watching, and we shall catch you in 2 weeks' time.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Bye.
Weeder, if you want to be a guest, message me as to what you'd like to present on the show, and if it's something of interest to the community. Yeah, absolutely.
It's probably better than what we had in mind.
Yeah. All right.
Good night.
Take care, everyone.